Hello Snugglebugs, welcome to today's video. We're actually going to be going over the WizBanks Workshop mini set that should be releasing in a few days, at least as time of recording. I'm not sure when I'll put this up. We're just going to review all the new cards that they announced. Should be 100 and, I forget how many new cards, but there's going to be ranging anywhere from common to legendary. I think there's at least 3 per class, and then of course the neutrals, and then you get, 2 of each except for the legendaries. First up here we have the Druid cards. And it actually is kind of a good place to start because it shows us a new keyword, the opposite of the miniaturized effectively, called Gigantify. And this is a 3-mana 2/4 with Elusive, Lifesteal, and Taunt, which isn't really that bad when you think about it. And what Gigantify is, let's see if I can slide this over to show us one time. It is that instead of giving you the 1-mana 1/1 version of the card you played, it gives you an 8-mana 8/8 version of the card you played. So going forward, that is what Gigantify means. I might slide that over a few times for some other reasons, but overall, I think this is a pretty decent little beast. I think it's just a good card. Obviously, it doesn't do a ton on its own. 8-mana 8/8 Elusive, Lifesteal, Taunt, though, could be really good if you're trying to just survive late game, and getting this down early. Kind of, if you're playing a more late game rampy build, getting this out can help you against some aggro decks. And then, of course, the 8/8 that they can't deal with a spell directly, unless it's a full board clear, is also pretty strong. Next up here, we have the Overgrown Beanstalk, which is a 3-mana summon a 2/2 treant and then draw a card for each treant you control. The related cards picture is just showing you all the different things I think that summon treants. I mean, Treant Druid kind of comes and goes. Honestly, this is very reminiscent of the Imp draw card that was in Warlock. I think that costs 2 and this costs 3, but it also summons you a Treant first, so it's a guaranteed 3-mana draw 1, summon a 2/2, which honestly, as is, probably isn't that terrible. Each one of those things are probably 1 mana, so to split those or put those in one card, yeah, sure. Of course, the other side is one additional treant that you have on the board automatically makes this like really good. So you play that with the blood treant, then you just play this because the blood treant costs health. All of a sudden you have 2/2/2s and you draw 2 cards. I don't know. I think this is going to be something that maybe revives that aggro treant gameplay a little bit. And of course it is a nature spell, which is pretty important usually. Then we have our first legendary, our Druid legendary here, the Toyrantis. For those who don't remember Tyrantis, this is a 6-mana 7/7 with Taunt and Elusive, which to me is already kind of like, that's pretty good. Just in general, 6-mana 7/7 is, what you'd call now probably a more normal stat line. 6-mana 6/7 would not be played. Taunt is pretty good, and then Elusive to make it so they can't deal with this with just like a spell or something. Also quite strong. And then, of course, either you ramp up to 10 or you just wait till later game to play this. It has Battle Cry, gain +7/+7. So a 6-mana 14/14 Taunt Elusive. I don't know. I think that's pretty strong. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. I'm also interested. I've seen some people ask the question, but I'm not sure if it's been somehow confirmed yet. But it does say if you have 10 mana crystals specifically. So, in Wild with all the different, or with the, geez, I forget the hero's name now. So we haven't played it. It's Guff. There we go, Guff. To get up to 20 mana crystals, like, I don't think this will work. Even our little robot-y friend that gets you to 11 mana crystals. I personally, the way this reads, because it doesn't say 10 or more, makes me feel like if you have 10 mana crystals, gain 7/7. I feel like this is a way for them to say, okay, well, if you're going to play, say, again, Guff in Wild to cheat your way up to like 12 mana crazy quick, you turn Toyrantis off. Right? Like, I think that's, in my opinion, that's their little way of doing that. But yeah, no, I think this is going to be really powerful. Just the stat line, I think, can be played in almost every Druid deck, except for maybe that tokeny Druid I just talked about. But it's so strong, you never really know. I think this will be played quite a bit. Might be one of those cards that at least starts pumping up the Druid's power level enough to see it come back. We'll see. Next up, we have the Death Knight cards, starting with a new weapon, Foam Render, 5-mana, 1 Unholy Rune, 5/1 weapon. However, when your hero attacks, you spend 3 corpses to gain 1 durability. I mean, get that stringy piece again. I mean, to be honest, the fact that this could potentially allow for never-ending 5-mana or 5 damage weapon swings, to me, just seems really powerful. It also spends corpses for your necrotic explosion, so you might be able to sort of slot this in place of some other corpse spenders you didn't really want to play in that deck. So overall, I just think this card is going to be one of the better cards of the entire mini set. I'm just trying to be real here. I don't know. Anytime there's a 5-mana weapon, 5 damage weapon, that usually goes far. Even if this gets 2 attacks, you got to think of that like a 5-mana potentially pyro ball type thing. I know you can't go past taunts like you can with a spell, but you get what I'm saying. 5-mana deal, hopefully at least 10 damage. Really strong. And of course, it doesn't say once, so technically, sometimes I've seen when we play decks like this on our channel here, we've had upwards of like 20 corpses, and yes, we will then spend 10 on, the Corpse Bride, but that still means that this basically can just attack 3-4 times, and your opponent has to deal with it. And having a weapon, which is not a super common thing to play against anymore, it kind of comes in and out. I think this is going to be one of those cards that alone makes having to play the snake. I forget his name, I apologize, but the 3/4 snake, that gets rid of weapons, a must play again, in my opinion. It was just really strong. Then we have a 4-mana 2 blood rune, Helm of Humiliation shadow spell. Give a minion -5/-5, and then give a minion in your hand +5/+5. So it's like a 10/10 stat potential swing. Now this, unlike most things, doesn't say if it hits 0, it dies, but usually if it hits 0 health, they die. So this could, in fact, be a 4-mana, at least kill a middle-of-the-road minion, as well as buff something in your hand by 5/5. I think that's good. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I guess hand buff is a thing that Death Knight has some of. That's usually more unholy right now. But being able to potentially siphon that stat off of something else, and the fact that it always gives you something in your hand 5/5, even if you only siphon like a 3/3 as an example, I do think this is good. I think I'm not giving enough credit, but I don't feel like it's going to be like, I have to try to get 2 blood runes in my deck to play Helm of Humiliation if you're playing like Rainbow or of the sorts, you know what I mean? Like the 2 blood rune part to me, I think, is kind of what's making this not seem quite as appealing. Later, if we get a ton of blood rune specific stuff, of course this might be played in a more blood heavy deck. And then we have the Toy Snatching Geist, a Gigantify, a 3-mana 2/1 Battlecry, discover an undead, and then reduce its cost by this minion's attack. So you already get to the related information, as you can see, is just kind of breaking down like what you have there. But yeah, so let's say you discover in this case a 2 cost, just because it's ideal, 2 cost undead, it becomes free, and then the 8-mana 8/8 later is more important to get potentially a 8-mana and below undead discovered for free on top of your 8/8. Honestly, I think that's pretty good. The fact it's related to this meaning's attack as well could mean the things that we were just talking about with Helm of Humiliation. If you played that, got lucky enough that it buffed your Toy Snatching Geist, all of a sudden it becomes a 3-mana, obviously it would be a 7/6 that also discovered a potentially 7-mana or below free undead minion to play alongside it, which then can be followed up by the 8/8 and repeat. So in combination, maybe a deck with two blood and 1 unholy is better than complete Rainbow. I just think with the weapon, I think the weapon works better with Rainbow to me, But anyway, I think either way, this is going to be good. This is going to help get your board. It'll help you get your other minions, which of course helps feed the corpses for the weapon. A really good card all around. Death Knight, I think, got mostly all bangers here. That's just me. Next up, we have, I think, Demon Hunter. Yes, it is Demon Hunter, which is, first up, we have a 4-mana, 3/3 demon called Gibbering Reject. After your hero attacks, you summon another Gibbering Reject. This is basically a demonic version of the little 1/1 for 1, I think that was in Druid, that anytime you played a spell, you summoned another copy of it, I believe is what it was. I mean, normally hero can only attack once per turn. Of course, there's some things with Demon Hunter that make the video attack multiple times per turn. So let's say you get this out, attack that turn, they maybe only can kill one of them. Next turn it lives, they have a few minions, you play that spell that, attacks everything. All of a sudden you have a board of Gibbering Rejects as well as clearing their board. Now, of course, that's like the ideal scenario. I personally don't think that this is actually that great. 4-mana, 3/3, you'd probably need 5 mana to be able to at least attack with it, unless you had a weapon the turn you played it. Now, that being said, if you had a weapon, 4 mana, 6/6 effectively is pretty good. And if they don't deal with it, it keeps replicating every turn. But the fact that it requires that, to me, and it's the same mana cost as the weapon that Demon Hunter really likes to play now, and in fact is a demon, I could see this becoming good, one of the cards that actually gets discovered off of your shopper, but not something you might want to play naturally in your deck. And next up, we have a 3-mana spell called Return Policy. I'm going to try to speed this up because there's a lot of cards to go over. It is a 3-mana spell. Discover friendly Death Rattle card you've played this game and trigger its Death Rattle. I mean, again, if you're playing any Death Rattles, really, this is just good because you get the friendly Death Rattle. There was a Hunter card that was like this years ago, I think, that was played a decent amount. And it's pretty good if you have the right Death Rattle. If not, so as of right now, I can't. My brain isn't thinking of the one you'd play. Let me know in the comments down below if now I'm thinking too far ahead and I'm missing something simple right in front of my face. Then we have a 1-mana 1/3, which is always, the best stat line. Sock, Puppet, Slither Spear. So a new Slither Spear that's adorable. And this minion's attack is improved by your heroes. I'm assuming it goes down as your hero power gets reduced. So it's a 1-mana 1/3. Let's say next turn you do something, you equip that weapon, you get yourself a 3 attack. It's a 4/3. And then and I guess if it's a weapon and it sticks, this would stay as a 4/3. But if it's just like your hero power, puts up to 2/3 when the hero power attack goes away. So would it on this card. I mean, 1/3 for 1, you can never be upset. It's a Naga, so it's going to fit into that, Naga spell card that flips and does 2 damage. Yeah, I think this card will see a ton of play. All right, next up we have our Hunter cards, and I guess I will throw this out there for those who haven't been around for our card reviews in the past. I do my best to do these completely blind. I wait for all the cards to be released, and yes, I see some just because of the nature of the internet, but I do try to read these blind. That's why I don't necessarily know what they're going to work with. I find it more enjoyable. I've heard the same from people, but again, always feel free for opinions. Let me know. But yeah, we have the Hunter Legendary, Product 9, Battle Cry, recast every friendly secret that triggered this game, and of course the related cards are just the different secrets that would be possible. So obviously 5-mana 4/4, not great. In my opinion, I can hover over these. That's kind of cool. Didn't know that. That helps. One secret alone, I think, would be enough to make this good. Like, let's be real. Like, if you had Freezing Trap proc and then you play Product 9, or actually probably best would be the Bait and Switch. If you had that proc on something different, played Product 9, got it back, they attack against 3/3, right? That's really good. Any more than that, and that just obviously makes this card amazing. There's really no other way around it. I think the only downside of this card would be if you don't want to play secrets or you don't draw them, but of course a lot of decks play even that Forge card right now that makes 2 secrets. They both go off. Product 9 gets 2 secrets. I don't know. I think this card is going to be super annoying to play against, super fun to play as, and it's going to really add to Hunter's ability to control the board and use secrets to basically control it even further. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see the Christmas tree that comes back off of Product 9 at some point. Then we have the first pack. I believe I've heard there's a few classes that get these. I'm a little torn on these because they're 1-mana spells, but they're also generally seeming to be late game 1-mana spells. Add 5 random beasts to your hand at the end of your turn, just discard them. So it's kind of like the gifts that the other classes got. I think that's probably what it is. There's probably some classes got gifts or whatever. But I don't know. To me, it's like, obviously you can't play this on 1. You probably don't want to play it on 2. Arguably, especially for Hunter, you probably don't want to play Wilderness Pack until you're at least 5 mana. And at that point, if you're playing this to get 1 cheap beast to discard 4, I don't know, it just doesn't seem as good, even as the gifts. Like, with the gifts, you know what you're going to get an option of, and then you get to discover what suits your scenario best. And this is just 5 completely random minions, because beasts are a pretty big pool, and then you just have to get rid of them if you don't play them. Like, what happens if you try it on 5 and you get 3 9-mana beasts, or 5 9-mana beasts? You get nothing. And 5 cards as well is a lot in your hand, right? Like, Hunter does typically have a fair sized hand because they are very tempo based. They play 1, maybe 2 cards a turn. So like, you might not even get all 5. I don't know. I don't see this as being very good. Maybe I'll get proven wrong, but as of right now, I don't think this will be played almost at all. And then we have Bargain Bin. So it's the new secret. 2 mana, obviously, I should say, because, that's what they are, the little traps. After your opponent plays a minion, spell, or weapon, draw a card of the other two types. So let's say you play this, your opponent plays a minion. I would get to draw, or I would get to, if I played it, I should say, I would get to draw then a weapon and a spell. And if they played a spell, I'd get a minion and a weapon, and then a minion and a weapon. You get the idea. So it kind of gets you to play, if you have weapons in your deck, which most hunters do, it effectively is a 2 mana, draw 2, but your opponent kind of gets to dictate what you're drawing, which isn't the end of the world. I think this is pretty good. I think, Hunter doesn't have a ton of super good draw power, and the fact you could get this back off of that product 9, I think this is going to be a secret that gets played or picked. Not the strongest one, mind you, but you might just play it for that, like I said, Christmas tree, because product 9 can only bring back one of each kind of trap or secret, so it kind of just adds to your pool. Next up, looks like we're looking at mage cards. So here we have a 3-mana 2/4 elusive Dark Moon Magician. After you cast a spell, cast a random spell that costs 1 more. So presumably you probably want to wait till later, where you could play this with at least 1 or 2 spells, maybe of the coin, and then it's just going to randomly start casting higher level spells. And I think that's really good. Now, the way this is worded, I assume it's just once per spell, because we've seen this in the past, because it does say after you cast a spell, cast a random spell. And the word cast sometimes gets, just because it sounds like you're casting a spell, so it's going to cast another one. Obviously, I can't imagine doing that, or this and the coin could just be lethal, because it would literally use all spells. But, say you play this on 3, you coin, you play a 1-mana spell. I think this is really good, and the fact it actually has elusive means to me that your opponent can't deal with it super well. So if you play this in a turn where you have a guaranteed spell to deal with, say, their minion, the random spell does something, hopefully to their face, then all of a sudden they have to have minions to deal with this. And the pro there, I guess, or AoE spells, is that keeping this alive means more and more value. And the more value you have, the easier it is to keep your enemy board clean and repeat. So I do like this. Right now, I don't know if there's a mage deck that currently works. Like, it's not an elemental. Obviously, it's a minion, so it doesn't work in the no minion mage deck. But I do think this will be a really good tempo mage based thing. Maybe even just like a secret mage deck, just because. Then we have Malfunction. 2-mana spell, deal 3 damage split among all enemy minions. And then if your deck has no minions, deal 3 more. So a new no minion mage support type card. Just honestly quite good. It's 2 mana, 2 arcane, whatever, the arcane missiles, that's the word I'm thinking of. So pretty good, pretty strong. Not much else to say. And then we have 3, buy one, get one, freeze. Freeze a minion and then summon a copy of it. No, that's a priest's card. I was gonna say, I did get spoiled on the card that summons copies, but I'm pretty sure that's a priest card. So spoiler for ahead, I guess, a little bit. Depending on the minion you're freezing, I guess, but you do get a frozen copy of it too. This could be good. I'm not really sure, to be honest. I don't think it's great. 3 mana, maybe it fits in the no minion mage just because, or maybe you want to play this in the deck I was talking about with the elusive guy earlier, because then, of course, you could freeze a minion on their board instead of necessarily killing it, get some value of getting additional minion, and then cast a 4-cost spell. Overall, though, I'm actually not super sold on this one. I don't know. Freezing is always better than you think it's going to be, but I don't know. I can't see myself thinking of wanting to play this card right now. All right, then we have Paladin cards, which, Paladin always seems to be near the top of the meta, so let's see if their new cards kind of support that as well. We have a 3-mana, 3/3 Gigantify card, Flickering Lightbot. Costs 1 less for each holy spell you've cast this game. So you kind of get the idea of why you want this Gigantified. Let's say you've already played 2 or 3 holy spells. This is for a free 3/3 mech. And then, of course, the 8/8 for 8 version would already at that point be, say, a 5-cost 8/8, which is great. And then, of course, the more holy spells you cast, the better that gets. So I think this is ridiculously strong. Yeah, there it is. Flickering Lightbot Gigantified version. I can't say much else about it. Anytime you get mana discounts, and most Paladin decks play a decent amount of holy spells as it is, like, Yeah. Even if the Gigantify only had the discount, this card would still be played. But the fact that you could actually get the normal Flickering Light Bot out for free, oof, wow. Wow, 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 wow. Now, it doesn't have like Taunt or Defiant Shield or anything like that, I guess, but it effectively gives yourself your own giant in Paladin. But I don't know. We'll see. I like it. I think it's going to be really strong. I'm definitely going to be playing it when I try it out. Then we have 4 mana Holy Glow Sticks. Speaking of Holy Spell, 4 mana. Sorry, I did say 4 mana already. Lifesteal. Deal 4 damage, but then cost 1 if you cast a Holy Spell this turn. So if you cast a different Holy Spell this turn, this is 1 mana, deal 4 damage, Lifesteal, and of course that would mean you play 2 Holy Spells for your other minions. Now I do think that this is good. I mean, obviously 4 damage for 4 isn't great. Lifesteal's not really that good for that. Like I would say 3 mana maybe, but then of course the fact that sometimes you cast it for cost 1, I'm guessing is sort of the ideal. You probably buff your minion with 1 Holy Spell, destroy their minion with another Holy Spell, get the lifesteal pressure. Only thing I see with that would be, of course, you now start to talk about emptying your hand really fast without a ton of refill. That could be one negative. Then you have a 1 mana spell called Whack-a-Knoll. Discover a paladin weapon from the past. So anything that's not in standard, you get to discover it and then give it +1/+1. I mean, 1 mana discover, the 1/4 weapon becomes a 2/5 that you can just hit your opponent with over time for 10 damage. Is pretty strong. My only thing here, though, is it's not a holy spell. Paladin already has so many early game aggressive options at 1. I honestly don't think this makes the cut. I don't know. Point out an old Paladin weapon to me, maybe in the comments, that changes your mind if you get it. But unless you're playing this in like a control Highlander Pally, I just don't think it replaces any 1-drops right now. Next up, we do have the Priest. So maybe maybe we'll see what I was talking about here. So we have a 4 mana delayed product. So it's taking them time to build it. I do not like that image. Just throwing that out there. It discovers and summons a minion that costs 8 or more, but then goes dormant for 2 turns. And I feel like, yeah, there's like a big little list there of things that cost 4 or more. So yeah, or 8 or more. Obviously that's good. There was the Amber card that used to just discover one, I think, for 6 and summon it. You get this out even earlier, but it takes the 2 turns to wake up. Your opponent can then see what it is and kind of play around it. I mean, depending on the board state, Priest currently, if I remember right, doesn't have that many great 4 cost options anyway. I think trying to plan ahead, dealing with like their board, hopefully them only having like 1 minion left and you playing this on an empty board will be worth it. Because then you do have a decent amount of board clears in Priest for like turns 5 and 6 to then wake this up on turn 6, or whatever, and ready to go. Obviously, ideally, you get something like, your Ragnaros or your Colagrim, or even, I guess, if you're playing the right cards, Thunderbringer. Things like that would be really good. If not, just something massively statted to make your opponent nervous. I think this is going to be a really good card. I do. One of probably Reno Priest more so than any kind of like aggro Priest or anything like that, but I think it should definitely see play. And then we have the Puppet Theater, which is another 4 mana card, so I guess another 4 mana to fit in that slot. Choose an enemy minion and get a 1/1 copy of it that costs 1. And I'm guessing to your hand. It doesn't say summon a 1/1 copy. So you basically get to turn your opponent, any card that your opponent plays, into a miniature version. That could be really strong. But the thing is, it really is dependent on what your opponent's playing. 4 mana to risk, again, probably Reno Priest, because you can risk not playing it if you think they're playing like super aggro or something. But honestly, just good value. I think you're going to see a lot of amazing plays where your opponent doesn't want to play specific minions just because you have Puppet Theater out and they're trying to play around it until you use your, both your durability. And then we have a 3 mana shadow spell called Funhouse Mirror. Summon a copy of an enemy minion and then it attacks the original. So it's either a 3 mana trade, preferably. Obviously, if they have something like a 6/7, that's, you do that, you're both just going to live with 1 health. So, but I think it's okay. And it depends on what it is. Sometimes cards get, extra effects when they attack and things like that, so you can kind of control when you use this. I think this is a good card. I think it'll see a ton of play in Priest. Overall, probably the delayed product, like Priest doesn't seem like they're getting that many crazy things to me. It's not going to change the way they play a crazy amount. Interesting cards, but nothing broken. Then we have Rogue, and I'm going to take another drink because I am dry. where we have the Dust Bunny, which is a 3-mana 3/2, Battle Cry and Death Rattle. Add a random piece of junk to your hand. Cute idea, by the way. I think that's adorable. It's like it's under your couch finding stuff for you. It can either get you a coin, a rock, a banana, or a knife. So they have them here. Obviously, we have the coin. The rocks are the 1-mana things from Excavate. Banana, that's probably one of the worst options. And then Wicked Knife. So, like, and don't get me wrong, banana's not even that bad in some situations, but obviously a coin is really good. 1-mana, board removal. All of a sudden, you're talking a 3-mana 3/2 that gives you 2 utilities. I think that's really strong. I don't know. I could see this just being played in most because it gives you some value, some versatility, some small, cheap things to combo off of stuff. Basically, Rogue's bread and butter. Then we have the Rogue pack, and I'm just going to say it's probably going to fit in the same. Now, it might be a little bit better just because, of course, you get the added value of having other stuff in your deck that plays off of playing stuff from other classes. But it's a 1-mana Twisted pack. Sorry if I said that already. Add 5 random cards from other classes to your hand, and at the end of your turn, you discard them. Same thing I said about the other pack. I won't go much deeper. I just feel like 1-mana things. Rogue might be able to make a bit more use of it because, of course, there's combos, or like I said, they have additional ways to get value off of playing cards from other classes. But at the end of the day, I still don't think the pack mechanic or whatever is going to work super well. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, Hearthstone or people. Prove me wrong. And we have the 4-mana Dubious Purchase, which I think, because this was one that was pulled for me, is crazy strong. 4-mana, draw 3 cards. I mean, obviously we have, that's already pretty strong, right? Like I think the other draw 3 cards we have is usually 5 mana. So you'd think maybe downside of some kind, like discard 1 or something. But no, it actually then just has combo, destroy a random enemy minion. I don't know. I just can't get my head wrapped around it a little bit. They have so many, you prep this, all of a sudden you have a 2-mana, draw 3 cards, destroy a random enemy minion. It's crazy. Anyway, maybe that's just me. Let me know. Okay, we have Shimmy Shaman with a Shaman Shake, which is Gigantify, a 1-mana 1/1 with Gigantify, so it's kind of funny. Battlecry, summon a Tiny Fin with Rush with its stats equal to this. So technically it's a 1-mana 2/2 in a way, spread across 2 bodies, which is good. That's pretty strong. And Gigantify means it'll summon a 8/8 Tiny Fin with Rush. That's pretty strong. And then, of course, if you do some kind of somehow hand buff it or whatever, it gets stronger. But by default, an 8-mana 8/8, 16/16 with half of that body having Rush, I think this card should just be played in almost every Shaman deck, to be honest with you. Yeah, at least I'm probably going to do that for a while until I find out why not. And then we have a new frog for the froggy Shimmy Shaman deck. A 5-mana 10/10 with Rush. Yes, it has Overload 4. And I know that it was a long time ago, so it might not even still be that broken today. But we had a 4-mana 7/7 Overload 2 without Rush or Taunt or basically anything, just the fact it was pure stats, that became a meme, basically. People were just like, I can't believe it. It's too strong. And what we're really saying here is now we upped that. We got 1 extra mana, 3/3 stats. Yes, the Overload is 4, but it also has Rush, which means that in turn 5, this should effectively be able to deal with anything your opponent has. If your opponent then has to play a second card to destroy it, next turn you're going to be limited to, let's say you go up to 6, 2 mana. But if this takes out 2 of your opponent's cards, or they have to use at least 2 cards to get rid of it, to me that's still a win, right? Like you're telling me a 5-mana 2 for 1 or 1 for 2, that's got to be good, right? I don't know. I can't see this not being good. And then of course the fact that it becomes a possible evolve target, random summon target, all this other kind of stuff, insane to me. I don't know. I'm surprised I don't know. We've seen this before, and I don't know. Some people I've seen talk about Overload being so hurtful today's game, but of course then you could just do something like where's the Overload or the pay thing and get rid of it. Anyway, that's a Shimmy Shaman. And then we have the Wave of Nostalgia, which is a 5-mana nature spell. Transform all minions into random legendary ones of the past, so yours and your opponents. Just random evolve shenanigans. I personally don't think this is going to see much play. For 5 mana, it's going to be hard for you to combo it out with things of your own. Plus, you want to make sure your opponent's board is clean first. So maybe in a world where you think you can clear your opponent's board, summon a bunch of random 1/1s or totems or something. But generally speaking, I don't think this card is going to see play. Okay, now we're on to the Warlock cards. And we have Inferno with an exclamation point. A 4-mana 6/6 taunt. Battlecry, set your hero's remaining health to 15. Now, by turn 4, that's probably negative. But with Pain Warlock the way it is, it's a positive. And then potentially later game, if you draw into this and you're weak, you can actually heal yourself. So it's definitely unique. I like it. I think it's going to play really good in Pain Warlock decks. Gives you a payoff. It's got taunt. It's good against like boards that might normally then repressure you because you've hurt yourself. I think this is a strong card in a couple different scenarios. Then we have Domino Effect. Another one I will admit I saw that I'm actually thinking, wow. Deal 2 damage to a minion. Repeat to the left or right, dealing 1 more damage each time. So it doesn't say it has to kill the minion, but I think you play it like rolls across the board. It's kind of like the old Fireball that had 15 total damage. This, I think Fireball's rolling. I forget what I think. It wasn't Fireball, obviously, because it's the 4-mana 6 damage. But anyway, so if you deal 2, then it'll deal 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and presumably the way this is read, spell damage almost makes you feel like it's going to do 3, 5, 7, 9. I could be wrong, obviously, because sometimes only one of these things would change. I think this is great. I love it. I love the art. I love the idea. They've been doing a lot of stuff with games, like board games in Warlock, so of course Domino makes sense. Then we have Mass Production. Let's see. It's a 1-mana spell. Draw 2 cards. Deal 3 damage to your hero, which is obviously pretty strong. Again, Pain Warlock. Shuffle 2 copies of this card into your deck. On one hand, that makes it sound good, but in my opinion, the shuffling cards back into your deck, because part of the thing with Pain Warlock is they want to get low on a deck. They want to obviously hurt themselves, and they want to make sure they draw the giants and everything. They don't want, I don't think, want to keep drawing into the mass productions too much. Could be wrong, but anyway, I don't know. Overall, obviously just a great card. The shuffle mechanic might be good, could be damaging to certain things, but of course it adds more copies of draw mechanics and stuff into your deck, so obviously that's not bad. This is like an almost ideal Warlock shuffle or a cycle card. Then we come to the warrior cards, which will probably help me build my more mech warrior based deck that I want to play. First up here we have the Safety Expert, which is a 8-mana or a 10-mana 8/8 rush death rattle. Shuffle 3 bombs into your opponent's deck. And for those who I guess don't remember, bombs. Oh, I forgot. These are the bombs. This the same old bomb warrior, cast when drawn. They take 5 damage, so it's damage over time, effectively, or prolonged unknown surprise damage. I think it's pretty good. I mean, 10 mana is of course incredibly steep, but the fact that you can bring this back with the Dr. Boom or Boomstick, and then like there's ways to cheat out mechs from your hand, and then I think. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be good. I want to try it. 10 mana again seems a little steep, but 15 damage over time with bombs and 8/8 rush. It's pretty strong. I think if you had made this 9 would be the lowest you could possibly go. 8 mana, this would be way too strong. 8 mana, 8/8 rush that also puts 3 bombs in the deck. But anyway. Then we have another pack, and yet again, I'm just going to not repeat myself too much. Add 5 random taunt minions to your hand. I don't see that doing very well. 2 mana, Part Scrapper, lose up to 5 armor, and then your next mech costs that much less. So, you can make mechs cheaper. Now, this costs 2, loses, say, 5 armor, so it's basically 5 damage to yourself, effectively giving you 3 excess mana to summon a mech because it costs 2 to play the spell, and things like that. I think that's really strong. I think it's going to pay off to trying to keep mana. It's going to make your opponent want to feel like they have to keep knocking you down. going to be able to play things like this for 7, potentially, if you are on 7, because you play this, go down to 5, sacrifice 5 armor, play that for 5 mana, kind of thing. And of course, then you're talking even those 2 cards and 5 armor, a 8/8 rush, get 3 bombs for 5 mana effectively at the end of that combo. Pretty strong. I think this would be played in that mech deck for sure. Then we have a Replicator. Replicator-inator. That's the word. Which is the first of, and maybe the only, because I guess the mini set, they probably will get rid of Miniaturize and Gigantify. It is a 5 mana, 5/5 mech with both Miniaturize and Gigantify. So here is the Gigantified version and the mini version. And it says after you play a minion with the same attack as this, summon a copy of it. So again, because of the Miniaturize and Gigantify version, 5 mana, 5/5, and then if you play anything with 5 attack, it then summons another copy. And then, of course, your 1 mana one will do the same, and the 8 mana one will do the same. As you can see, I feel like it's strong, but you almost have to start trying to build your deck around 5 attack, 1 attack, and 8 attack minions to really get this going. If you can build a functional, like a really good functional deck with that around it already, without building too much like around it specifically, then obviously this is just going to be an amazing card. You wait till you have, this plus something else to play. And of course you could buff these things to give them different attack lines to make the effect work. I think this could be really strong. It's valuable. 5 mana, 5/5, that gives you 2 additional minions. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be good. I think it's one of those cards that'll try to find a home in as many decks as possible, and then just might not work, and you'll find a sweet spot for it. But it's good. It's good. Then we have Puppet Master Dorian, which is very similar to an old Dorian card that we used to have, but it's 4 mana, 2/6. After you draw a minion, get a 1/1 copy of it that costs 1. So it basically turns all of your other cards, all of your other minions, into like a miniaturize without having to play it first. Obviously, you play this, you play something like maybe in the rogue deck, like we talked about, the 6 mana, you play this, you prep the thing that draws a 3, destroy opponent's minion. You technically get 6 cards if they're all minions, I guess. And then, of course, that just tons of value. I guess the only issue with this would be a lot of draw cards are spells. So if you're trying to play a lot of draw cards with Puppet Master Dorian, you might not actually get a bunch of minions. So you have to kind of do a nice little way around it. And 2/6, though, is pretty sticky. Your opponent just might not kill it, so you get the next draw. That's also a thing. Then we have Pro Gamer, and this one was definitely popped up on my socials numerous times just because of how interesting it is. And it's a 2 mana, 2/3, the normal stat line now. Battle Cry. Challenge your opponent to a game of rock, paper, scissors. The winner draws 2 cards. So either you draw 2 cards or your opponent draws 2 cards. Just fun. I don't know if we'll see play, because unless you're like super pro at guessing what your opponent's going to do, the risk of giving your opponent 2 cards, I don't know, might not be worth, like, obviously you couldn't overstat this, because then if you draw 2 cards, like a 2 mana 3/3 and draw 2 cards is way too strong. So it does make sense that there's some risk to it, but as much as I want to play it, I don't know if I can give my opponent 2 cards. I guess you could intentionally try to do it, but again, you can't really intentionally lose. It's just good. I don't know. I like the design more than anything. Then we have the Building Block Golem, 5 mana, 6/3, rush, death rattle, summon 3 random 1-cost minions. I don't really see this being played. I could be wrong. Maybe some decks will want to play it. We have a 3 mana, 2/4. At the end of your turn, shuffle a bomb into your opponent's deck. When drawn, it explodes for 5 damage. Interesting that they explain what a bomb is on this card, but not the other one. I guess just because, it's not warrior, maybe, so it's not typical. We'll probably play it in warrior because you have just a free 3. So it's a 3 mana. You lose 1 attack to give your opponent a bomb from the normal stat line. I'd say that's pretty strong. And if they don't manage to kill this, it just keeps adding bombs. And there you have it. That is the mini set for Whizbang's Workshop. It comes out on Tuesday, April the 14th, I believe. May the 14th, which, I haven't done gameplay videos a little bit, so I will probably wait and upload. Like, I'll try to record some games middle of the week. just me ranting a little bit. Usually I record on the weekends just because of work and stuff is so busy, but of course the new cards come out, I will try to get some of this stuff. I admit, I think Mech Bomb Warrior of some kind is yelling to me. But let me know, out of all the new cards, what would you like to see tried in action? And I'll do my best to bring it to you. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.